Erica, what's happening? How are we doing?
Well, I'm calling to get some advice on how to interact with my 25-year-old brother who's just becoming a very angry person, particular in the what he wants to do with his life career-wise. He has a degree in business administration and graduated about 18 months ago, and since then he's had 4 different jobs. One of them he lost because he was the new kid on the block for COVID, so that was kind of, out of his control. But he comes to me, asking for advice, and just gets very angry when I either try to give him some advice or guidance or suggestions. Sometimes it's very, very productive, and then other times I get hung up on saying, well, you just don't know how it is, kind of thing, based on what he wants to do. It's difficult because I see him starting to turn into an angry person, and kind of starting to distance himself from myself and my parents.
So where does your brother get this sort of life from? Is he modeling that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I do start to see some transfer over. My dad has kind of been in and out of work for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I don't tend to hear what the reasoning why he is no longer employed there. But it's always there's other people caused the termination of his employment, right, kind of thing. And so that's kind of put a strain on my mom to handle all of the finances on her own. And, especially with, all the things that are going on and whatnot, my dad just doesn't really seem to have much interest outside of YouTube and whatnot. So
that's where all the good conspiracy theories are, Erica.
Yeah, that and this thing and that thing and
if you would quit working your regular job and paying attention to your regular family, you could see all the cool things on YouTube, including this mildly entertaining show, right?
Well, yes, of the 33 people that do watch it, I think those 33 get some good advice out of it.
That's right. So does your brother have friends? Does he have people in his life that will just tell him he's being an idiot, or no?
Yes, I would say so. He switched colleges midway through, and so he has more friends at the first college that he started out with, and he seems to gravitate more towards them, but they kind of live in a different area than where he lives. He is actually moving out of my parents' house in January, finally, kind of thing.
Right.
More so he was trying to save money because it was expensive, and then being out of a job, living, at home was just a little bit easier. But it's one of those, I'm trying not to be a second mom to him because we're 7 years apart, and It's kind of always been the joke that he has 2 moms kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But, my dad and his brother don't have a good relationship with each other, but I would like to keep that with my brother, but I also don't want to get hung up on or people I just don't know what I'm talking about kind of thing. Whereas, if you're at a job for 4 months and you want to leave within 2 weeks of starting because you didn't get adequate training, and then, the suggestion is, well, speak up. Well, no, I can't do that. And X, Y, or Z reason kind of thing.
So I'll give you some good news and then some bad news, okay? And I'll start with the bad news. The bad news is you can do nothing.
Yep.
There's nothing you can do here to help your brother do anything differently.
Yeah.
Especially if he's not coming to you humbly and saying, I need help with a plan. Yeah. And dude, I'm the worst. There's been seasons of my life when I've been the worst brother. I've got an older sister, a younger brother, where I've called them unsolicited, just giving them all kinds of shenanigans. Like, well, what you should be doing, and it's insulting and it's demeaning. And here's the thing: I think I was right. I probably still think I was right, but it wasn't helpful, right? And so, backing out and talking about your brother. Here's what your brother is. He's 25. You said,
yeah.
Your brother's terrified.
Yeah.
And he's terrified of two different tracks. Number one, those feelings he has that people at work don't like him, that everyone around him is out to get him. Those feelings aren't truthful. They're not right, but they feel real. And that's scary. And depending on how your dad and your mom raised him, guys have very limited skills in responding to fear. And usually it's to puff your chest out and just start swinging, or it's to numb it out. And you can numb out with alcohol, with YouTube, with more work, or with another job and another job, or another girlfriend, another drink. But you're just going to spend your life numbing and running, right?
Yeah.
The second thing,
he's definitely been the person his whole life that school was hard for him. Teachers were out to get him.
Right.
And when throw my hands up anytime that it gets difficult and have somebody else figure it out.
There you go.
AKA mom and dad.
And that leads me to number 2, which is he is terrified of becoming his dad. And it's happening before his very eyes. It's like watching somebody whose dad is bald, and it's that first time you swipe your comb through and you just see all that hair come out and you're like, oh no, right? It happens in slow motion to your life. And so here's the thing. You have a scared to death 25-year-old little brother that you can't help. Yeah. All you can do for him is to love him and to say, you can call me at any time. Here's my recommendation to you, and it's going to be trite and not super helpful. It will be when he calls you to ask your opinion on things, I would stop him before he gets rolling, which I'm guaranteeing he's a roller. He'll talk and just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And you'll start to try to get in. He'll just take a breath and keep going. I'm right? Am I right on that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would stop him before he gets going and ask him, do you want my advice, or you just need somebody to listen to you? Because I'd love to listen to you. And let him choose. Because then if you start to pipe up with, here's what I think you need to do, you can always fall back on, hey, you asked me for this. Yeah. Otherwise, just be a safe, quiet place for him to talk and vent and talk and vent. And then you need to live your life above reproach. And what I mean by that is you will be a shining light. You'll be the example for him that he doesn't have. Right. And you may reach out to him with good things that are happening in your life. You may reach out with him just to check on him. You may write him letters that tell him that he's loved and he's a good guy. And that when he does something good, we do that with kids, right? Catch him being good. But write him a actual physical letter that he can hold in his hands, that's tactile, that he can see it. And he's a millennial. He won't even know what's happening. He'll be like, what's this mail thing you speak of, right? But send him a letter. He can open it and see it and touch it and feel it. And he's going to have to learn a really hard and uncomfortable lesson, and that is work sucks. And the real world's hard. And nobody gives you anything. And you've got to fill in the blank, all those things. Sure. And that does lead me to this. It's almost, I don't want to be all ranty today here in this new studio. It's all shiny. I don't want to get spittle everywhere. But there's a whole generation of young person who's been told this one fascinating line, which is follow your passions. Almost like you say it breathy, follow your passions, right? Like the deeper, like a megachurch preacher who are just talking in regular voices, and then they're like, so one day I was walking along the road and then I met God. They have to only say it in a breathy, breathy way, right? It's the same way, follow your passions. And for most kids, there's no backup to that. There's no information that goes along with that. And so what passion becomes is a marker for feelings. Follow your feelings. Do the thing that feels most comfortable to you. And if there's any sort of resistance, if things are hard, I want to be an author. Well, just write a book. And then the first person reads it and they're like, hey, this book kind of sucks. It's not good. Or you've got to pay attention in English class so you can learn how an actual sentence functions, right? Or fill in the blank. I want to be a poet. I want to be a runner. I want to be a whatever. Follow your passions. That means follow your feelings. And then when things get hard, then I feel sad. I don't want to feel sad. So I just abandon it and quit. I go somewhere else. And that's just absolutely wreaked havoc on a whole generation of human being. And really it starts with my generation. They were telling us, follow your dreams, follow your passions. You can be anything. Here's the thing about follow your passions. You become passionate about the things you're good at. And you become good at the things that you practice. The things that you do over and over and over and over again. And if you're like 99.9% of the world, there's always that one kid that just sits in front of YouTube, learns how to play the guitar, and he comes out 9 months later and he's just savant. Every generation has that kid. Good for you. I'm not talking about them. Most of you are not Steve Jobs, right? Or you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. The rest of us practice the things that we were made to do. My parents made me be really good at mowing the yard. My dad was really hard on me about mowing the yard because he said it communicated a couple of things. It communicated how I cared about a customer. It communicated a sense of excellence that was inborn regardless of how much I was making. It was a sense of pride for the homeowner. All these things came through, right? Joe and Linda there at Burger King. Treat the customer that comes in here with respect. You don't know where they're coming from. We happened to be on a route to a hospital, and people would stop there to get food, to go visit their loved ones at a hospital. Just laughing and bringing joy into that day brightened people up, right? But we were made to do it. If you treated a customer with disrespect, they called you in the back and they said, you're not going to work here if you're like that, right? And so you're passionate about things you're good at. You're good at things you practice. You practice the things you're made to do. And when you're made to do things, it's hard. And you don't like it, and it's not fun. And there's sometimes that you are practicing things and you have good days of practice and bad days of practice, right? There are sometimes you are doing things that you're really good at, and then you don't do them good that day. You don't do them good that month. You have a low season. You work really hard on your next big book, and it tanks, right? Steven Spielberg has some movies that didn't do well. That's part of it. And being told to do things that are hard, being made to do things that are hard is not mean to your children. It's not mean to your students. It's not mean to teenagers. It gives them a sense of fortitude and grit that comes from the inside out. The fancy word for that is resilience, not feelings. Feelings are true. You got to sit down and, not true, but feelings are real. You got to sit down and acknowledge them, but they lie to you. And this sounds like a young man that has been told his entire life, yeah, you know what? I know you feel that teacher is being mean to you. You're right. Let's go get her. I know you feel like that job's hard. You should quit. They should treat you better. And you feel your way through 100 different jobs, through frustration, through broken relationships, no work to stand upon. And when you don't have any work to stand upon, when you don't have relationships to stand upon, you are nothing. We are made as relationships and we are made to work. Period. That's just the way that is. And so for everybody out there who is doubling down on what's my passion, go back to the things you were made to do. Go back to the things that you're going to practice over and over and over and over. These poor James and Kelly, Zach, these poor folks, you should see the hours of tape that we have on, they called it radio school. These guys back, it was a beating. It still is a beating for them. I'm still learning how to do this, right? But we had to practice and practice. And then James would say, we're going to be here at this time. You got to be here at this time. And it would be uncomfortable and not good. They made me do it. And you get better and better. And now I'm starting to love it. Now I'm starting to like it. It's starting to be fun. I'm starting to be, quote unquote, passionate about it, right? So, Erica, to answer your original question, there's nothing you can do, man. You can love your brother, be connected to your brother. I'd stop on the advice unless he explicitly asks. And you can feel free to tell him this. If I tell you this, I'm going to hold you accountable to it, okay? And he may not want to do that. He may say, oh, I don't want to tell them most. Whatever 25-year-olds with 5 jobs in 4 months say. But, man, just gets me frustrated, dude. All right, I'm going to quit talking on it.